After all the anticipation, Supergirl is finally here, and overall, I had a pretty good time with it. Before we jump into the review here, I want to give a little context on where I come from as a DC fan. I'm actually a fan of the Snyder era movies. Were they perfect? No. But I enjoyed them, and honestly, part of me still wishes we could have seen that universe continue, especially when it comes to Ben Affleck's Batman. I thought Affleck was fantastic in that role, and it's a shame we'll never get to see things like that warehouse scene for his Batman, maybe ever again. So, when DC announced they were starting over with a brand new universe, I was at first disappointed, especially after what we got with that Black Adam ending. But then Gunn's Superman came out, and I really enjoyed it. It felt different from what came before, but it also felt like a movie that understood why people love these characters, why they love Superman. And going into Supergirl, I was hoping it would continue that momentum and convince me that this new DC universe has a bright future. Today, I'm going to break this review into 3 sections. First, we'll talk about what I liked. Then we'll talk about some things that didn't quite work for me. And finally, we'll compare the movie to the comic that inspired it, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. Now let's get into it. The biggest strength of this movie is Kara herself. Millie absolutely nails this role. From the moment she appears on screen, she feels different from Superman, and that's very important. She's carrying a tremendous amount of pain and loss, and the movie makes that very clear from the beginning. One of the things I loved most is that this isn't really a movie about saving the universe like Superman was. It's a movie about healing. Kara is still carrying the trauma of losing Krypton and losing her family, and unlike Clark, who grew up on Earth and had years to build a life there, Kara remembers what she lost. She remembers Krypton. She remembers her family, and that grief is at the center of this story. What makes the movie work is how that journey parallels the young girl Ruthie that she's traveling with. Both characters have suffered tremendous loss, but they're handling it in very different ways. Kara is trying to move forward while the young girl is consumed by revenge. Watching Kara help this girl while also working through her own pain creates some of the strongest emotional moments in the film. And then we have Lobo. Jason Momoa is having an absolute blast in this role, and honestly, so was I. Clearly, he was made for this role. Every time he showed up on screen, he brought a ton of energy and personality. He completely steals every scene he's in, even if this is a PG-13 watered-down version of Lobo. I immediately want more of him. I also really enjoyed the world building this movie does. One thing I liked about Superman was that it made this universe that felt already lived in, and Supergirl continues that. We get more alien worlds, more cosmic locations, and more of a sense that this DC universe is much bigger than just Metropolis or Earth. The visuals here are great, the scope feels massive, and it helps make Kara's journey feel like a true space fantasy adventure. Most importantly, this movie makes me excited for the future. After Superman and now Supergirl, I'm starting to see what James Gunn and DC Studios are building, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes. Now, while I enjoyed the movie overall, I do think there are a few things holding it back from being truly great. The biggest issue for me is the pacing. There are moments where the movie moves incredibly fast. We're jumping from one location to another location, one event to another event, and occasionally it feels like the story is just rushing to get to the next big moment. But then there are other sections where the movie slows down significantly, and while it's never boring, the pacing just feels very uneven, and some of the emotional moments could have benefited from an extra scene or two to really let them breathe. I also think a few of the supporting characters get overshadowed, especially our main villain, and even Lobo a little bit, even though I did enjoy him, very overshadowed, because the movie is so focused on Kara, and rightfully so, and some of the side characters don't leave as much of an impact as they probably should. Even Ruthie, who we spent a lot of time with, doesn't really leave an impact. They're not bad by any means, but I don't think they'll be characters people are talking about after they leave the theater. My other criticism is that some of the emotional moments don't quite hit as hard as they could have. The themes are strong, the ideas are strong, but there are a couple scenes where I felt like the movie wanted a bigger emotional reaction than what it really fully earned here. Again, none of these issues ruined the film for me. They just kept it from reaching that next level for me. Now let's talk about the source material. If you've read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King, you'll immediately recognize the DNA of this movie. At its heart, this is still that story. It's still about Kara helping a young girl seek justice after a tragedy. It's still about the grief, the revenge, the healing, and deciding what kind of person you want to become after suffering a loss. the emotional core of the comic is absolutely intact here. That said, there are definitely some changes. The biggest and obvious one is the addition of Lobo. He's not a part of the original comic, and his inclusion here is clearly designed to make him feel, or make the film feel, bigger, more cinematic, and to introduce a major player into the DC universe, at least I hope. Honestly, I think his inclusion here works. The other major change is Krem the villain. In the comic, Krem serves his purpose in the story, but in the movie, he's turned into a much more direct and traditional villain. He's a bigger threat, he's got superpowers, he's more dangerous, and more active throughout the narrative. But like the comic, I don't think he quite reaches the level of memorable. The comic is also much quieter and more reflective. It has a lot of emotional scenes, such as the learning to wash your hands part of the story. A lot of its power comes from the narration, and that's something that's difficult to translate directly to the film, I think. So the movie makes adjustments to keep things moving and make the story work as a cinematic experience. Purists may prefer the comic, and honestly, I can understand that, but I think the filmmakers did a good job preserving what matters most while making changes that fit the film medium. So overall, Supergirl lands at an 8 out of 10 for me. Millie delivers a fantastic performance as Kara. Jason Momoa absolutely owns every second he's on screen as Lobo. The themes of grief, healing, and moving forward are handled well, and the movie successfully adapts the heart of Woman of Tomorrow while making the changes necessary for a big screen blockbuster. It's not perfect. The pacing can be uneven, some supporting characters could have used more development, and a few emotional moments don't hit quite as hard as they should. But at the end of the day, I walked out of the theater happy. And honestly, that's saying something. As someone who genuinely enjoyed the Snyder era, and especially Ben Affleck's Batman, I wasn't automatically sold on rebooting everything. I still wish we'd gotten to see where Affleck's Batman story would have taken, and where the Black Adam Superman story would have gone. But after Gunn's Superman, and now this Supergirl, I'm excited about this new DC universe. These movies have shown me that there is a clear vision that these characters are being treated with respect, and that DC finally seems to be building towards something with confidence, hopefully. For me, Supergirl falls comfortably into my see it if you can category, but what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think it's better than the comic? Do you prefer the comic? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.